Hey everyone, and welcome. We are about to completely tear down everything you think you know about selling. Seriously, if you're a founder, a consultant, or really anyone who needs to persuade other people to do something, you've probably been taught a bunch of myths. So let's get to busting them.
Let's just be honest for a second. What's the first image that pops into your head when you hear the word salesperson? Yeah, for most of us, it's not great. We picture someone kind of pushy, maybe a little manipulative, a bottom feeder. And the wildest part is, so much of the traditional sales advice out there actually encourages that exact stereotype.
But what if that entire picture is a total myth? What if the real secret to connecting with people isn't about being pushy at all, but about understanding the one thing that's actually making all the decisions? I'm talking about the human brain.
Okay, let's kick things off with the biggest myth of all. The idea that buying decisions are based on cold, hard logic. We just love to imagine ourselves as these super rational beings, carefully weighing the pros and cons in a little mental spreadsheet. But it turns out that's not how our brains work at all.
A good way to think about it is that you have two brains. You've got your logical brain, which loves all the features, the data, the ROI calculations. And then you have your emotional brain, which runs on feelings, trust, and gut instinct. For decades, we've been taught to sell to the logical brain, assuming it's the one in the driver's seat. But neuroscience has proven that's completely backward.
And this is the absolute core truth of it all. We don't think our way to a feeling, we feel our way to a decision, and then we use our thinking brain to justify it afterward. Emotion is the one who actually makes the call. Our rational brain is just the press secretary that scrambles to explain why it was a good idea. So if your entire pitch only appeals to logic, you're basically showing up to the party after the real decision maker has already gone home.
Okay, so if logic isn't the key, then it's got to be the perfect, polished, absolutely flawless presentation, right? The one where you've got a slick answer for everything and you just completely blow them away with your brilliance. Well, that brings us to our next myth we need to bust.
This is especially true when you're not selling, say, a car or a laptop. Most professional services, we're talking consulting, design, legal advice, are what economists call credence goods. And that's really just a fancy term for something where you can't really judge the quality until after you've already bought it. I mean, you can't exactly kick the tires on a strategy session, can you?
And this is a hugely important difference. See, with a physical product, you can point to the specs, the features, the materials. But with a service, the client is buying something that's totally invisible. They're not buying your fancy PowerPoint deck, they're buying you. They're buying trust, they are buying your reputation, and most of all, they're buying the feeling that you truly understand their world.
So what does this all mean? It means the single most effective pitch isn't a pitch at all. It's a conversation where you prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you get them. You understand their unique pain. You've thought deeply about their specific challenges. That kind of demonstrated understanding is infinitely more persuasive than some slick, generic presentation you give to everyone.
All right, let's move on to our third and final myth. This idea that to be great at persuading people, you just have to be a friendly, outgoing people person. Just go out there and make friends. It sounds right, doesn't it? But the truth is, this advice isn't just wrong, it can actually be pretty dangerous.
This is such a powerful and honestly a really counterintuitive point. The person who is just absolutely focused on being liked will often avoid the tough, necessary conversations. They're so worried about rejection or creating any kind of friction that they can't challenge a client's thinking or ask for the final commitment. They're great at making friends, but not at making progress.
So here's the crucial distinction you have to make. The need to be liked is a disruptive, self-centered emotion. It's all about avoiding conflict to make you feel accepted. Genuine empathy, on the other hand, is a skill. It's focused on the other person. It's this relentless drive to understand someone else's world so deeply that it gives you the courage to ask tough questions, not so they'll like you, but so you can actually help them.
So, if it's not about logic, and it's not about a perfect pitch, and it's not even about being a people person, then what's left? What is the real secret here? Well, the answer isn't out there with the customer. It's inside your own head.
This is it. The single greatest obstacle in any high-stakes conversation isn't a skeptical client or a tough competitor. It's your own emotional baggage. It's your own brain getting in its own way. Before you can ever hope to manage a conversation with a client, you first have to learn how to manage yourself.
And you know exactly what this feels like. It's the fear of rejection that makes your voice waver when you need to be confident. It's insecurity that makes you talk way too much instead of listening. It's impatience that makes you rush the process. And it's that attachment to getting this one deal that makes you give away too much. These aren't character flaws, they're just disruptive emotions that completely cloud your judgment.
And what's really happening here is biological. When a client pushes back with an objection, our primitive brain, our lizard brain, actually perceives it as a threat. It triggers a fight or flight response, flooding our system with adrenaline and cortisol. This process literally bypasses the rational, thinking part of our brain, making it almost impossible to respond thoughtfully and strategically in that moment.
So how in the world do you fight your own biology? You do it with a playbook, a plan. When that emotional storm hits, you don't have to think. You just execute the plan. Step 1, relate. Show them you're on their side. 2, isolate and clarify. Dig down and find the real objection. 3, minimize. Put that objection in perspective against the much bigger value. 4, ask for what you want again, this time with confidence. And 5, if it's still a no, fall back to a smaller yes just to keep the conversation moving. This framework is a lifeline for your rational brain, giving it a chance to catch up and take back control.
And when you zoom out, it all comes back to this one simple, profound truth. Every single myth we've busted today points to the exact same conclusion. Logic doesn't win. Understanding does. A perfect pitch doesn't win. Empathy does. Being liked doesn't win. Making someone feel truly heard and understood, that wins.
So the question to ask yourself is this: are you a seller or are you a partner? A seller pushes, pitches, and performs. A partner listens, understands, and solves. One is all about your needs, the other is all about theirs. And in the end, that's really the only distinction that matters. Thanks for diving into this with us.